Hi, my name is Frank. Welcome back to Channel 33 RPM, your channel for vinyl gear and more. I had so much fun with the last Q&A video, I thought I would try it again, and there's some really good questions in today's video. Remember to stick around to the end to check out the question of the week. All right, Lonnie Stringfellow wrote, do you have any other hobbies, Frank? Anything else you collect? So again, Lonnie's asking, do I have a life outside of music? Obviously, music is an important and an integral part of my life and my day-to-day, in addition to collecting records and CDs and listening to and consuming music and creating videos about music and playing guitar and writing music. Surprisingly, I do have a life outside of all that. I think it's important to have a wide variety of interest. I mean, it's not a hobby, but first and foremost, my priorities are my wife and kids, my extended family and family in general, and my day job, my career. Those are obviously near the top, right? I want to make sure the kids are raised right. I want to make sure I have a good relationship with my family. I want to make sure I do a good job at work to pay the bills and for personal fulfillment as well. But beyond that, I'm a homeowner, so I'm into home improvements, obviously maintaining the property. We live on 1.5 acres just outside the city, so there's a lot of property here to maintain, a lot of trees, a lot of grass we got to take care of, that kind of stuff. And I do like building things around the house. Had a couple of big COVID projects. I redid all the flooring on the main floor during the first part of COVID. Then during the second part of COVID, I built a basement bar here, which I've shown you all before. In addition to that, I'm into barbecue. I recently bought a master-built 800 gravity grill smoker. Prior to that, I had a pit barrel. I still have the pit barrel. Before that, I had a couple different smokers as well. So I'm always looking for recipes and ideas and tossing stuff on the barbecue on the weekends. I'm also a big movie fan and have a modest collection of Blu-rays and DVDs and movie box sets. My favorite genre is horror, but I'm getting into gangster movies lately and other stuff as well. And I often have friends over and have these movie nights down here. I got my collection of some of my favorite characters, including Michael Myers and Frankie right there as well, and have friends over and we watch movies in the home theater here. In addition to that, I got a dog, so I'm always hanging out with Hendrix. We call him Henry. So a ton of things to fill my time besides music, which obviously is one of my passions. How about you? What do you like to do outside of music? All right, this question comes from Chris. Hey, Frank, love the channel. My question is about buying used records. How much of your collection was purchased used, and do you have any advice for newbies who are afraid to waste money on used records? Thanks, and cheers. This is a good question. It's always good to hear from newbies as well. So welcome to the hobby of record collecting, Chris. I would say maybe 50% of my collection is new, or was bought new, and 50% is vintage. Maybe that ratio has kind of changed over the years because most of the back catalog stuff I now have. So most of my purchases now are new releases and the occasional reissue. So maybe now it's like 60% I bought new versus 40%. It's hard to say though. It's in that ballpark. So in terms of tips for those who are afraid to waste money on used records, I mean, it can be a gamble, obviously, when shopping online. If I'm buying a used record on Discogs or on eBay, I always make sure to check the seller's feedback and see what other people have said about the seller. You want to make sure that they are reliable, that their products are accurately described, and the grading is good. That's the other thing I would do if you're buying used records, particularly online, is to become familiar with the Goldmine standard for rating records, like VG plus, VG, what all that means. Familiarize yourself with that and just exercise caution when buying used records online. If buying them in person, ask the record store owner if you can inspect the record, look for obvious scuffs and damage. Unfortunately, you can't always see all the damage, so there's an opportunity to listen to the record before you buy it. Go for that as well. And I wouldn't be afraid about wasting money. Just do your due diligence. Make sure you're not overpaying, and you can make sure you're not overpaying by checking the selling history of a record on Discogs and see how much it has gone for in the past, and judge accordingly. So yeah, Chris, welcome to the hobby, and good luck, man. I lost my train of thought. Good luck, man. Welcome to the hobby.
Channel 33 RPM.
James Hyatt wrote, what are your 3 favorite bands? And James left this comment on a recent video I did where I mentioned my 3 favorite bands to collect are Kiss, Sabbath, and Alice Cooper. And those aren't necessarily my favorite bands to collect, right? Especially the 70s stuff from Kiss, Sabbath, and Cooper, man. They had some awesome packaging. But, in a particular week, those 3 bands may actually be my favorite bands. But right now, my top 3 favorite all-time bands are probably Judas Priest, Kiss, and Van Halen. But if you ask me this question next week, I'd probably have an entirely different list for you. As Mast wrote, have you ever thought about doing a ranking of 1970s Black Sabbath albums? Yes, I have, and then I decided against it, and that's because I've done a couple ranking videos. I think I did Motley Crue and Judas Priest, and they didn't perform well, so I kind of now shy away from dedicating entire videos to one particular artist, because when you do, you're just appealing to a narrow segment of your viewers. If I'm gonna invest time into creating a video, I'm gonna try to make it so it reaches the broadest audience possible, and something that most of you are going to dig. But here, I'll do a quick ranking for you now. My favorite Black Sabbath album from 1970s is the debut. They got it right in the first try and essentially invented heavy metal over a 2-day recording session. Number 2, I would say, is Paranoid. I mean, in addition to the tracks everyone knows, Paranoid, Iron Man, and War Pigs, you've also got Fairies Wear Boots and Planet Caravan. That album is solid from beginning to end. Number 3, and this may surprise some people, I'll throw Sabotage in there. I love that album. It's somewhat angry. Symptom of the Universe has one of the heaviest riffs ever, and I swear to God, that helped inspire the whole thrash genre. And The Writ is one of my all-time favorite tracks, bar none. Such an epic number. Number 4, I'll go with Master of Reality. After Forever, killer riff, one of Tony Iommi's best riffs. Of course, you got Sweet Leaf and Shoal in the Grave. Another super solid album. Number 5, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. Love the title track. Again, Tony knocked it out of the ballpark with that riff. You got Sabra Cadabra, Killing Yourself to Live. Fantastic record. Number 6, I'll go for Volume 4. It's a good album. I found it to be a little unfocused. Probably a lot of that has to do with the band's cocaine addiction at the time, but I mean, it's got Supernaut on it. And I'll round out my list with Never Say Die and Technical Ecstasy. Those records don't get a lot of spins here, but I would rank Never Say Die over Technical Ecstasy. What do you guys think? All right, William wrote, hey Frank, I have a question. Are you an equalizer guy, especially an external equalizer? Let me know what you think. Thank you. I did try to use an external multi-band equalizer for a period of time, and it just never really did anything for me. That said, I do use my bass and treble controls on my integrated amp. I know a lot of music purists shy away from using any tone controls and they defeat those, but I do play around with the bass and treble. But in terms of the multiple graphic equalizer, I don't do that. Edward wrote, deliberately purging from time to time is pretty healthy in my mind. Yeah, sure. Do you actually listen to all your records? I don't. We could all benefit from having more space. Yeah, I do think it's important to purge your collection once in a while, at least speaking for myself only. Every couple of years I go through it and sell off some records. As a matter of fact, right now I'm looking in my closet. I got 3 big boxes of records I've pulled from the collection with the idea of selling. I'm going to go through them and make sure I want to sell those and price them. It's just a matter of time. I haven't had a lot of spare time, and I'm in no rush to do that. And there's probably more records on these shelves that would probably be better in someone else's home, if that makes sense, right? I mean, it's kind of win-win. Someone who loves those records may buy them, and with the extra money, I can buy more music as well. So yeah, purging, 2 thumbs up. Beef Doctor wrote, I do have a question regarding the orientation of inner sleeves. Do you have the opening of the inner sleeve pointing up for easier access or to the side to protect it from dust? So I've talked about this before. Nowadays, I use the dual pocket sleeves from Vinyl Storage Solutions. The first pocket is for the album jacket. The rear pocket is for the record. But even before Vinyl Storage Solution sleeves, I use a single pocket sleeve and just always tuck the record in the back for easy access. I know viewers get upset with me when they see this, but I always tuck the record in the back with the opening on top, rather sideways. Got to do what's best suited for you. The argument is if you place the record opening on top, you introduce another possibility of getting dust on the record. So if you turn sideways, it reduces the chances of dust getting into the inner sleeve. Personally, I have not found that to be an issue at all. I don't think, at least for me, it's a problem. I haven't noticed a ton of dust on my records from doing it this way, but again, that's me. This is the way I do it. You got to do it the way you want to do it. All right, Richard wrote, "Hey Frank, love the channel and the videos. Awesome, thank you so much. Question for you. I've seen your video about your LP shelving and have done the same thing." Richard's talking about a video I did where I built one of these IKEA shelving units. And he says, "What about your CD shelves I see in the background? Are they IKEA or something else? Keep on rocking, Rick." Awesome. Thanks, Rick. Yeah, those shelves behind me he is talking about, and those are, I'm not sure how to pronounce this exactly, Nedby. It was a series of shelves from IKEA, and it has since been discontinued, at least discontinued here, and I think in most countries. I recently did a Google search, and I think IKEA in some parts of the world does still sell them, but they definitely don't sell them here anymore. As a matter of fact, when I bought a couple, it was 6 years ago, I was in IKEA and there was a sign saying last chance to buy these. I guess demand for them went down because fewer people are buying CDs and movies and DVDs, and that's what those are made for. That said, you can still find plenty of used ones. I found a couple more of these earlier this year at a secondhand store, at a thrift store for pretty cheap. I know a lot of people, as they get rid of their physical media collections, are getting rid of those shelves as well. So keep an eye out on the used online classifieds, and you'll probably find some. I do recommend them. They work awesome. And Rob wrote, "Hey Frank, I know he's far removed from your genre of music, but as a Canadian, any thoughts on the passing of Gordon Lightfoot?" Yeah, absolutely. Gordon was a Canadian icon, a music legend, and he was a bit of a badass in his day. So nothing but respect for Gordon Lightfoot. Exceptional storyteller and lyric writer. Mr. Lightfoot, rest in peace. All right, 33ers, I thought it would be kind of fun if you responded to some of these questions in the comments below. I'd love to read your responses. I'll see you there in a couple of minutes. Till then, keep on spinning.